Picture this, a charming village overlooking the, sparkling waters of the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Sun's shining assistant. You're surrounded by people who just seem to radiate good health
Yeah.
and vitality.
Right.
That's the allure of the Mediterranean. And a big part of that picture is their approach to food. It's what we call the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
And today we are doing a deep dive into this way of eating, exploring its core principles and the potential benefits, and even equipping you with some tips to get started.
You know, it's interesting because the Mediterranean diet, it's often misunderstood.
Okay.
It's not about deprivation or these strict rules. It's really more a lifestyle shift, a way to celebrate fresh and flavorful foods.
I have to admit, I always get a little skeptical when I hear the word diet.
Sure.
But this feels different. I'm curious what makes the Mediterranean approach stand out from all the other diets out there.
Well, one key thing is that it emphasizes abundance rather than restriction. Think vibrant colors. Lots of plant-based foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. It's about incorporating these nutrient-rich foods into your daily routine.
So it's not about saying never to a slice of cake. It's about making those choices less frequent.
Exactly.
And focusing on the abundance of these delicious and healthy options.
Exactly. It's all about this balance and this moderation.
Okay.
That's a key part of this diet sustainability, too.
Yeah.
You're not depriving yourself. You're just shifting your focus towards what really nourishes your body.
Okay, let's get into some specifics here. What does a typical Mediterranean plate look like? We know there are a lot of plants, but what else is there?
Well, you'll find plenty of fish
Okay.
and seafood at least twice a week. And this will provide those essential omega-3 fatty acids
Okay.
that are really beneficial for heart health and cognitive function.
I've heard a lot about omega-3s, but to be honest, I'm not entirely sure why they're so important.
They have remarkable anti-inflammatory properties that are beneficial for cardiovascular health. And in fact, some studies have even suggested that the polyphenols in olive oil, which is another cornerstone of this diet, work really well with omega-3s to protect your heart.
Wow. So it's not just about individual nutrients. It's about how they work together
Exactly.
in this whole dietary pattern. That's something I hadn't thought about before.
Yeah, this interconnectedness is a key theme in the Mediterranean diet.
Okay.
It's about recognizing this synergy between food and lifestyle and your overall well-being.
Okay, so we've got our vibrant produce, we've got our fish and seafood, we've got the olive oil. What else is on the menu?
Moderate amounts of poultry eggs, cheese, and yogurt are also included.
Okay.
The Mediterranean diet, it's not about eliminating foods. It's about shifting the emphasis towards those plant-based options while still enjoying other foods in moderation.
So you don't have to be a purist. It's more about finding a balance.
Exactly. And this approach really aligns with the Mediterranean lifestyle, which is all about embracing enjoyment and celebrating those shared meals. It's about nourishing your body and soul.
And that brings us to the other side of the coin. What about the foods that we're limiting in this approach?
We're minimizing highly processed foods, the ones that are often packed with unhealthy fats, sodium, and additives that contribute to all sorts of health problems.
So things like refined grains, added sugars, processed meats, fast food, they all fall into that category.
Exactly. So by prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods, you're essentially giving your body the nutrients it needs to thrive without all that interference.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I know I feel my best when I'm eating fresh whole foods, but I have to admit I am sometimes guilty of grabbing those processed snacks.
It's all about being mindful.
Sure.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about those gradual shifts.
So we've covered those basic building blocks of the Mediterranean diet, that emphasis on plant-based foods, fish, olive oil, and moderating processed foods.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what does this all translate to in terms of meals? I'm a visual person, so I need some concrete examples.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, for example, imagine a caprese salad, but instead of those thick tomato slices, you have spiralized zucchini noodles.
Okay.
Tossed with fresh mozzarella cherry tomatoes, basil, and then a drizzle of olive oil and balsamic vinegar.
Okay. That sounds pretty refreshing and surprisingly satisfying, and a clever way to get in more veggies.
Exactly. And then for a heartier meal, how about a traditional lasagna, but reimagined with layers of roasted vegetables like eggplant and zucchini? Lean ground turkey instead of beef.
Okay.
And then this really flavorful tomato sauce enriched with herbs and spices.
I love lasagna, and that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
But what about those nights when you're just short on time and energy?
Even then, there are plenty of quick and easy options.
Okay.
How about a colorful falafel bowl?
Okay.
chickpeas, hummus tahini sauce, and a variety of fresh veggies.
Okay.
Cucumbers, tomatoes, onions.
That's a great example of how versatile this way of eating can be. You can adapt it to your lifestyle.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that the Mediterranean diet, it's more than a set of rules. It's a way of life
Right.
that celebrates food and its ability to nourish us and connect us with others.
That's such an important point. It's not about restriction. It's about savoring those flavors and enjoying those meals with loved ones and really embracing a lifestyle that promotes well-being.
Exactly. It's about appreciating those simple pleasures in life and recognizing that food is central to our overall health and happiness.
I'm starting to see why this way of eating has been linked to so many health benefits. But before we get into the science, let's talk about the practicalities.
Sure.
I know our listeners probably out there thinking, okay, this sounds great, but how do I make it work in my daily life?
Right. That's a great question, and we'll definitely be addressing that. In our next segment, we're going to explore some practical tips for incorporating the Mediterranean diet into your routine, even if you're busy, have dietary restrictions, or just starting to explore this way of eating. Welcome back. I'm really excited to dig deeper into the science behind the Mediterranean diet's health benefits.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling good. There's actually substantial research
Right.
supporting these claims of improved health and longevity.
It is amazing to think that just like shifting what we eat can have such a profound impact on how we feel.
Right.
We talked about weight management and heart health, but the source material also talks about the diet's role in blood sugar control. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. What's really interesting is how the Mediterranean diet influences something called insulin sensitivity.
Okay.
So, in simple terms, insulin sensitivity refers to how well your cells respond to insulin's signal to absorb glucose from the blood.
So if the Mediterranean diet improves insulin sensitivity, it means that our bodies can use glucose more efficiently.
Right.
What does that mean for someone who might be at risk for type 2 diabetes?
That's exactly where the benefit lies.
Okay.
So, in type 2 diabetes, your body either doesn't produce enough insulin or it becomes resistant to its effects.
Okay.
And that leads to high blood sugar levels. The great thing about the Mediterranean diet is that with its focus on whole grains, fiber-rich vegetables, healthy fats, it really helps improve insulin sensitivity
All right.
and keep those blood sugar levels stable. There's even research suggesting that the diet's impact on gut bacteria might also be playing a role.
That's amazing, especially with type 2 diabetes being such a big health concern these days. It's really empowering to know that we can do things to potentially influence our risk.
Absolutely. And this focus on whole foods and balanced nutrition, it extends to another really important area, and that's brain health.
Okay.
You remember all those antioxidants we were talking about? They're not just good for your heart. They're also really important for protecting your brain cells from damage.
So is it like giving your brain extra armor against aging and cognitive decline?
Well, it's not a guaranteed shield or anything, but the research is really promising.
Uh.
Studies have linked the Mediterranean diet to a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease
Wow.
and better cognitive function overall.
It's amazing how interconnected our bodies are. The same principles that benefit our hearts also seem to have these positive effects on our brains and metabolic health.
Right. It really highlights this concept that food is information. It provides our bodies with the instructions they need to function properly.
It makes me think about red wine.
Yeah,
The source material mentioned that red wine is actually part of the Mediterranean diet,
it is.
but it seems kind of counterintuitive to me.
It's important to say that the Mediterranean diet, like any healthy lifestyle, is about moderation
Right.
in all things, and that includes alcohol.
Yeah.
The studies that show the benefits are specifically referring to moderate red wine consumption.
Got it.
Think like a glass with dinner,
Okay.
not the whole bottle.
Right. So it's not like an endorsement to overindulge.
No.
It's more of a reminder that even within a healthy framework, there's room for that mindful enjoyment.
Exactly. And it's also really important to note that while there might be some potential benefits with moderate red wine intake, they don't outweigh the risks of excessive alcohol consumption.
Okay.
Balance and mindfulness are key.
So I want to make sure we give our listeners some actionable takeaways here. They're probably thinking, okay, all of this sounds great, but how do I actually put this into practice?
Right. Well, one really good strategy is to start your day with a Mediterranean-inspired breakfast.
Okay.
Think Greek yogurt with berries and nuts,
Mm-hmm.
or a slice of whole grain toast topped with avocado and a sprinkle of feta. By starting your day with nourishing foods, you're setting yourself up for success.
That's so true. I always find that if I start my day with like sugary cereal, I crave that kind of stuff all day.
Right.
But when I start with something healthy, I make better choices throughout the day.
Exactly. You're creating a foundation
Yeah.
for healthy habits. Another simple but impactful change is swapping refined grains for whole grains.
Okay.
Brown rice instead of white whole wheat bread instead of white bread.
Yeah, those are easy swaps that can make a big difference over time. And I love that it doesn't require like a total pantry makeover.
Right, exactly. Gradual changes.
Yeah,
And let's not forget the star of the show, olive oil.
of course.
It's not just delicious on salads and roasted vegetables. It's also a rich source of those heart-healthy, monounsaturated fats and antioxidants.
Olive oil is definitely a staple in my kitchen. But what about other fats like butter or coconut oil?
Well, those fats can be enjoyed in moderation.
Sure.
Olive oil is like the primary fat used in Mediterranean cooking. You can drizzle it over salads, saute vegetables, or add it to homemade hummus.
Speaking of delicious possibilities, the source material also talks about incorporating fish and seafood into our diet at least twice a week.
Yeah.
Are there any particular types of fish that are especially beneficial?
Oh, yeah. Salmon sardines, mackerel, trout, they're all excellent choices. Those fatty fish are really rich in those omega-3s. And don't be afraid to get creative with how you prepare them. You can grill them, bake them, pan-sear them.
Before we take a food break, I want to touch on another important aspect of the Mediterranean lifestyle.
Sure.
And that's the emphasis on shared meals.
So, absolutely. It's not just about what we eat,
Right?
but how we eat.
Hmm.
In Mediterranean cultures, meals are very social. It's a time to connect with loved ones, have great conversations, savor those flavors.
It's such a contrast to how a lot of us eat today, right? You're rushing, you're multitasking,
Yeah.
you're eating alone.
Exactly. And that's where mindful eating comes in.
Okay.
That's so central to this lifestyle.
Right.
It encourages you to slow down, be present, and really savor every single bite.
So it's like turning a meal into a ritual
Yeah.
instead of just a fuel stop.
Yeah.
I can see how this could have benefits beyond the dinner table.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating gratitude, appreciating those simple things, living more fully in the moment.
The source material doesn't really talk about exercise, but it seems like an active lifestyle is really a part of Mediterranean culture.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not about going to the gym for hours.
Right.
It's about incorporating movement naturally into your day.
Okay.
Walking is a huge part of life. You know, they stroll to the market, they visit friends, they walk along the beach. It's about integrating movement into their day,
I love that.
not viewing it as like a chore.
Yeah.
Right.
It takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the Mediterranean diet really celebrates those fresh seasonal ingredients too.
Oh, for sure. Farmers markets are central.
Okay.
You know, people connect with the local growers. They get the freshest produce. They learn about where their food comes from.
It's about reconnecting with the source of our food. As we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with something to think about. We've discussed the benefits of the Mediterranean diet,
Yeah.
but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's more like a framework,
Right.
a set of principles that people can adapt
Exactly.
to fit their own needs and preferences.
That's the beauty of it. You can take those core elements, the emphasis on whole foods, mindful eating, connection, and movement, and create your own version.
So as you start your own Mediterranean journey, I encourage you to explore, experiment, and discover what works for you. Bon appetit.
You good health.